We're live with another episode of BS Busters, and I'm joined by one of my usual co-hosts. Go ahead, Kenoshi. Introduce yourself.
Oh, it's Kenoshi Nito. Glad to be here on another one of these BS Busters.
Yes, and I'm glad to have you. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor of BS Busters. We have a full roster of topics tonight. Five, in fact, plus a free topic. The first topic we're going to talk about are franchises that we fell out of love with and why. Then we're going to talk about a list of the best Breath of the Wild, the best Legend of Zelda games of all time from IGN. That their number one game is a bit problematic. Um, Rune Factory 5. Might give my take on it. I've only played like an hour of it today, but I've been enjoying what I've played. We'll also talk about the Intellivision Amico debacle, and the announcement of Bayonetta 3's release date. So, without much ado, let's get into it. With our first topic, video game franchises that you fell out of love with and why. This could be a game came out where you're just like, I'm not going down this street with you, or um, whatever. So, Kenoshi, would you like to go first?
I would say the Paper Mario series. Because I did I like Paper Mario, the first game. Yeah, we even played a chunk of the second game, Thousand Year Door. Contrary to popular belief, I actually really like Super Paper Mario, but then after that, it's just kind of like
Downhill, huh?
they started doing some weird stuff. Yeah, it started going downhill.
Yeah. I pretty much echo your sentiments to an extent. Reverse it a little bit. I think the first Paper Mario is fine for what it is. Um, but if you compare it to other great JRPG, like other RPGs that came out in the fifth gen, it's just basic. Like
Yeah,
it did well because it was on a console that only had like five RPGs.
yeah,
So, like, I think it was kind of basic. But the basic gameplay that they had in Paper Mario, they expanded to a great degree in Super Paper Mario. Super Paper Mario is
yeah.
exceptional. Is an exceptional RPG. Even amongst other RPGs of the sixth gen, Super Paper Mario is really good. Like I would put Super Paper Mario up there against a Final Fantasy X or a Tales of Symphonia. It's that good. Um,
Yeah.
and then you have Super Paper Mario, which I mean, really, I treat as a spinoff. I don't consider it part of the mainline Paper Mario series. But in terms of
Yeah.
story, it has one of the darkest Paper Mario stories I've ever seen. Like entire
Yeah.
universes get destroyed in that game, and they
Yeah.
and this isn't that Dragon Ball Z shit where we'll make a wish and everything will be back to normal. No, those people are dead, and they ain't coming back. I mean, some
Uh,
horrific shit happens in Super Paper Mario. Um, and then the series just kind of shat the bed. You had uh, Sticker Star, which was trash. Color Splash, which was a little bit better than trash. And Origami King, which is a little bit better than Color Splash, but not, like if Sticker Star was a solid F, like less than 30%, I would say that Color Splash is a D, and
yeah.
and I would say that Origami King is a C. So yeah, the franchise is getting better, but I remember how good the franchise used to be. Like I said, the last really truly great Paper Mario game was Thousand Year Door, and that game is amazing. I
Yeah.
would say the only downside of that game is that there's a little too much backtracking. But once you unlock the warp pipes, even that becomes kind of a moot point. Um, but yeah, yeah. I agree with you. The Paper Mario series, like, I'm a, even though I'm very cynical, I still like internally am a little bit of a optimist because I hope that one day they can make a Paper Mario game that's good. Will they? Probably not. But you know, one must have hope.
Yeah.
But so, are there any other franchises you were like, I used to love this franchise, and then this happened, and I'm done.
Mm. New Super Mario games. I like the first game on the DS
Mm-hmm.
and the Wii. The Wii one was I don't know.
Okay.
You played that one? That one was all right. And then I think I played that one. Um, then I just felt like when it came out on the 3DS and then the Wii U, I just felt like it was kind of a starting to look like a cash grab because it's like just kind of retreading the other games.
Yeah, I can get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree. I think the first new Super Mario Brothers was kind of basic because it was basically like a revamped Super Mario Brothers from like the NES era.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought New Super Mario Brothers 2 was fine. But the thing is that I know Nintendo was capable of better. I think Super Mario Brothers on the Wii was kind of underwhelming to me. Um, I think the Wii U version is one of the best 2D platformers that Nintendo had come out with for a long time. Like Super Mario
yeah,
Brothers U, New Super Mario Brothers U is really good. Um, you know, so I would have to say the first game is serviceable. I think New Super Mario Brothers 2 is fine. I think the one on the Wii, I haven't played that much of it, but I mean, what I played of it, I was like, this is fine. It's not the best, but it's fine. I think New Super Mario Brothers U, like I said, really good game. Um, it's a shame people slept on that game because they wanted a 3D Mario game. You know, I'm like, you
yeah,
entitled bitches. This is like New Super Mario Brothers U. I wouldn't put it up there with Super Mario World, but playing that game, you got a lot of Super Mario World vibes in terms of level design and how you traverse the level and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know, it's really good because it showed why even then, when Nintendo puts their minds to it, they still make some of the best damn 2D platformers when they put their minds to it. But yeah, I can see where you feel that way. Even though they were like the reason those games run together is because the art style is the same for all of them,
yeah, yeah,
and a lot of the power ups are carried over from one game to another, so the shit starts to run together. Um, but you know, sadly, instead of getting any properly Nintendo made 2D Mario games, they just gave us fucking Mario Maker 1 and 2, which I'm like, this is a sorry ass replacement for properly made 2D Mario games.
yeah,
Because I don't want to play your cousin's, nephew's, uncle's Mario level. Like, I'd rather have, you know, designers make a Mario level. But that's just me. Um, so I guess you gave two. I guess I'll give two. Here are two franchises I fell out of love with. Um, GTA. And the
yeah,
GTA game that made me say, fuck it, I'm done with this franchise is GTA 4. GTA 4 is an abysmal, miserable game to play through. The only saving grace to GTA 4 it is that the expansions for GTA 4 are amazing. Like Lost and Damned. Like if you here's what I'd say. If you like Sons of Anarchy, but you're like, man, I wish Sons of Anarchy had a video game. Lost and the Damned is basically Sons of Anarchy, the video game. And it's like a 20, 30
yeah,
hour um, bit of content expansion. Um, and then you have the Ballad of Gay Tony, which basically feels like if they made the main character in that expansion, the main character for the base game, I probably would have enjoyed GTA 4 more, but instead we had Nico Bellic and his fucking fat ass cousin Roman. So so unfortunately, I just didn't fucking care. But yeah, the Balagatoni is like a throwback to like the 6th gen GTA games where you had absurd missions with weird shit happening and it was enjoyable. And I wish the base game was like that. So like there are some redeeming features to GTA 4, just not the base game. GTA 5 is where if I started to sour on GTA 5 is the game where I was like, this company does not know how to make their own games anymore. Because GTA 5, the single player has some moments of brilliance, and then they pull down their pants and they shart all over what could have been a great game because all of the cool content that should have been added to the base game, like shit, like blatant shit that's missing in this game. Because the problem is that GTA's 5 takes place in the same location as San Andreas. And there's a mountains of content that are missing in that game that should be there from San Andreas. There should be casinos. There should be San Fierro. There should be Las Venturas. Like, you should be able to go to the strip and, like, freaking go to casinos and shit in the base game. But no, they put that in the online so they can milk people for their money. And, you know, I played GTA Online when the level cap was like level 20 or 30. I maxed out my character and I was like, fuck this game. I'm done. And I did it the hard way by doing heists and missions and shit in the online multiplayer. So, where like half the time people would start the mission and then tank it because they were fucking trolls. So yeah, GTA 5 can go eat a bag of dicks, as far as I'm concerned. I hate that game. And that was the game that basically made me say Rockstar doesn't know how to make their own damn games anymore. So everything else Rockstar has done, everyone's like, oh, I can't believe they did this. It's like, you're surprised by this? Because they've been doing this for years. Really, if you've been paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs. But Rockstar isn't what they used to be.
That's true. They aren't. I mean, a lot of their most talented people have left. So what are we to do, you know? You know, when your most talented people leave, and what you have left are people who might have their own little ambitions and shit, then you're just going to be like, oh well. Anyway, my other franchise that I just don't really give a fuck about, it's not that I ever fell out of love with it, I just never really cared for it. I don't understand people's love of it, is Far Cry.
Yeah.
Don't like Far Cry. Especially the Ubisoft take on Far Cry. I don't like Far Cry 3. I don't like Far Cry 4. I don't like Far Cry 5. I don't like Far Cry New. Like, I don't like the spin-offs of Far Cry. I don't like Far Cry. I don't understand people's like, oh, Far Cry, it's great. Look, the same shit that I hate about Breath of the Wild started with Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. Like, giving you a map full of useless shit that has nothing to do with the main story to do. Climbing up a tower in order to unlock the rest of the fucking map. All this shit started in Far Cry and Assassin's Creed. And I hate it.
I can see that. I can see that.
And I know some people are going to get mad about that. How dare you? How dare you disagree with me? But, I mean, that's just how I feel. But yeah, those are two franchises that I don't really give a fuck about anymore. I'm like, I don't care. You know. Anyway, Speaking of French, it's a nice segue. I know I said earlier that Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, certain gameplay features that have been translated over to Breath of the Wild that I fucking hate. Uh, Last week, IGN had a wonderful little article of their top 10 best Legend of Zelda games. This is IGN, okay? Some people consider this a reputable a reputable gaming website. I do not, but here are their top 10. And when we get to number 1, you're going to see why I will explain why I think it's bullshit. Number 10, Twilight Princess. I can understand that. Number 9, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. Okay, fair. Number 8, the original Legend of Zelda. Number 7, Link Between Worlds. Bullshit. But not for the reasons people think. Number 6, Link's Awakening. Okay, cool. Number 5, Wind Waker. Excellent. Number 4, Majora's Mask. Number 3, Ocarina of Time. No. Number 2, Link to the Past. Number 1, Breath of the Wild. Are you fucking insane? Are you fucking... Holy shit, are you insane? You're telling me a game that only has 5 functional fucking dungeons is better than a game that before you even go to the Dark World, there's like 6 dungeons you go through.
Oh, that's the freshest game in their mind, and everybody's into like wide open worlds and Dark Souls like games. So.
I'm just saying, like, are you fucking insane? Okay? Like, in the entirety of Breath of the Wild, there's 5 dungeons. 5! And I'm being charitable by including, there's the 4 Zelda Megazords, and then there's Hyrule Castle. And technically, Hyrule Castle isn't even a dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay? Whereas in Link to the Past, before you even go to the Dark World, there is Hyrule Castle, where you have to rescue Princess Zelda. That's a dungeon. Then there's the Then there's the sewers, the secret pathway through the sewers. That is technically a dungeon. Okay. Then there's the fucking the Great Fortress. That's a dungeon. The Eastern Fortress, the Great Desert. Those are dungeons. The Tower of Hera, that is a dungeon. That's 5 dungeons right there. But then you got to go back to Hyrule Castle to Aghanim's Tower. That's 6 dungeons. And you haven't even gone into the Dark World. Okay? That's just in the Light World alone. There's 6 goddamn dungeons. Literally half of Link to the Past has already beaten all of Breath of the Wild's dungeon counts.
I mean, I guess a lot of people have just moved on from, or at least the person who made this list, the people who made this list have just moved on from the traditional Zelda formula.
And in all those, dungeons,
I don't know why.
No, go ahead.
I don't know. I can't really tell you why they made that list.
No, I mean, listen. The list is subjective, but I'm like, fair enough. Okay, everyone has their own subjective opinions, but even subjectively, for someone to screw their mouth up to say that Breath of the Wild is the best Legend of Zelda game of all, if you take the top 10 Legend of Zelda games, Breath of the Wild is number 1. Get the fuck out of here with that shit. Hell no. and functionally in like 5 of the 6 dungeons in Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, you get an item in the dungeon. In Hyrule Castle, the first time you get the boomerang. In well, no, you get the boomerang and the lantern. Okay, so that's a twofer. Then you get in the Western Fortress, you get the fucking bow. In the Great Desert, you get the power mitts that let you lift heavy ass rocks. And in fucking Tower Hera, you get the moon pearl that keeps you alive. Hello, Louie.
Hey, how you guys doing?
You're back from your trip.
Oh, yeah. But I want to make a bit of time for this cast. Saw we had some good topics.
Yeah. We discussed that IGN had a little list they did, and they said they had the balls, the cojones, the huevos,
Mm-hmm.
the abogados to say that Link to the Past is number 2 and Breath of the Wild is the best Legend of Zelda game to this point. And
I'm
I
sure
was
that turned some heads.
yeah, I was like, are you no. 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 Now, because I will try to be fair. Does Breath of the Wild have better graphics than Link to the Past? Yes. Does Breath of the Wild have a more expansive world than Link to the Past? Yes. But and does Breath of the Wild have better combat than Link to the Past? Yes. The combat is very dynamic in Link to the Past. But in every other metric about what you can measure those two games, Link to the Past is a failure. The music isn't as good as Link to the Past.
Wait, are you saying Link to the Past is a failure?
No, Breath of the Wild is a failure.
Okay, I
Breath of the
misunderstood you.
Wild's music is lackluster at best.
Yeah,
it's very atmospheric and ambiance like, and that's cool. But let me put it this way, okay? If you play the boss music in Link to the Past, you know some shit's going down. Play the boss music in Breath of the Wild. It's forgettable. It's like, oh, that's boss music. Play the final boss music in Link to the Past. Ganon's theme. When he basically breaks out of Aghanim's body that he possessed and flies away from the top of that big ass the Tower of Darkness and it crashes into the sacred pyramid, and you have to go down there and they play his theme while you're fighting him. That gets you amped up, gets you pumped up. It's like, shit, okay, time to get serious. Then play the shit they played during Ganon's final battle in Breath of the Wild. Yeah. It's so memorable that I can't even remember it. And I've beaten that game multiple times.
No, it'll truly. Well, actually, I can't comment too much on Link to the Past anymore since the last time I played it was when it was released as that double pack. But I'm sure this will be a young and an old head throwdown. But let's go on.
Yeah. I mean, all I'm saying is this. In terms of music, I think Link to the Past is better. In terms of enemy variety, I would say Link to the Past is better. Because I mean, they reuse the same damn enemies in Breath of the Wild. Like, there's like 11, 13 enemies. They reuse them over and over and over again in Breath of the Wild. And I don't mean like, oh, it's the same enemy model, they just changed the assets. I mean, like, it's the same thing, they just changed the colors. It's like, oh, that's the same enemy, you just made it a different color. Yeah, and it's different now. No, nice try, but no. I think Breath of the Wild fails in terms of having interesting dungeons. I think that the fact that you have a severe lack of like interesting items that you can use outside of the dungeons, because all your fucking equipment except for defensive equipment and armor has an endurance level. So it's not like hey man, I found this cool hammer. Too bad it'll break after 13 hits. Right. That's Breath of the Wild. I think fundamentally you can't judge Breath of the Wild against the other Legend of Zelda games because
that's where I'm kind of leaning
really
at
a
right
Legend of
now.
Zelda game. I'm just gonna say it. You know what Breath of the Wild really feels like? It feels like Nintendo. It feels like someone at Nintendo really liked Assassin's Creed and Far Cry, and said, "Wouldn't it be cool if we took these it made a game like that, but used Legend of Zelda assets?"
Well,
And
I guess
that's
we're
what it
using that
feels like.
comparison. I'd much sooner play Breath of the Wild 10 more times than another Far Cry or Assassin's Creed again.
I agree, but a lot of the things I fucking hate in those games are in Breath of the Wild. Like, hey, you want to open up more of the map? Climb up this tower and then activate a MacGuffin at the top of the tower, and bling! Oh, you've opened up more of the map. It's like fucking Christ. Could you guys have thought up a better way to do this?
I mean, I'll agree to disagree on that one more so it's because more so on the fact that I guess I won't disagree in that they're not different at all, but I just found that one more fun to do than what
Oh
Far
yeah,
Cry's offering. Where Far
oh
Cry,
yeah.
you'd often have like a base or some sort of fort. You take down the baddies, it's yours now. Where I guess I found climbing a big tower that was designed in such a way to be something of an obstacle course a bit more thrilling. But I will concede that they are essentially the same thing.
Well, functionally, it's the same thing. Here's where I'll say where Link to the Past has the hook. And Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. Far Cry is very methodical and predictable in how they want you to go. Like
Yeah.
it's like you can climb this because it's this certain color. Link to the Past has freeform climbing where your only limitation is your stamina and the weather affecting your grip. That's it. That's it. That's your only limitation. But unfortunately, the gameplay system that determines how much stamina you have can be mercilessly broken by cooking. So technically speaking, you don't even have a stamina limit in how much you can climb. So I mean, like I said, Breath of the Wild feels like it should have had another year in development. But they were so busy porting it over, creating a port over to the Switch, that they didn't have another year to really put into polishing it up even more. And that, and the missing features that I think really should have been there. Like I'm okay with you having some weapons that break, but like if you do a quest chain for the Zoras and you get some magic spear, that shouldn't be a breakable weapon. Because you had to do a lot of shit to get it.
And I actually went ahead and found that article because I was trying to see who wrote it. Because usually when IGN puts something out like this, I always like to read up on the writer's previous work to see what other takes they make. But unfortunately, this was in fact one of the rare times IGN is actually representing its whole self, since it's as written by IGN staff.
Yeah, and all I'm going to say is this: if you're the staff at IGN and you think that a Legend of Zelda, you're considering Legend of Zelda, a Legend of Zelda game that has one of the most piss poor final boss fights I've ever seen in a Legend of Zelda game. Music that suits the game but is in other ways very forgettable. Because say whatever you want to about other Legend of Zelda games, even if you don't like them. If you play a theme, like there's music in all those games that's very memorable. Like if I play the Song of Storms, everyone's gonna know that song from Ocarina of Time. Even if you don't like Ocarina of Time, I play that song, someone will know it. There's music from Wind Waker, people will know that music. If I play the Ganon theme from Link to the Past, people know that theme. It's been remixed multiple times. The Dark World theme, Koji Kondo really knows his stuff. You can't really do that with Breath of the Wild. Now, part of it is because it's new. It's a new game. It came out, within the last 10 years. But it's just, I don't think it's going to have that type of staying power. But, I'm an old head. Anyway, anyone else have anything else they want to say about this list before we move on to the next topic? Or do you want to give your takes on the first topic, Louis?
Oh, yeah, what was the first topic, actually?
Our first topic were franchises that you fell out of love with.
Well, we talk ad nauseum about Final Fantasy, but I'll do something a little different this time. Resident Evil. I don't think we talked that one to death. So I still think Resident Evil's consistently good performing and a consistent franchise overall. Even though it hit those weird extremes between 4 and 6,
Hmm.
uh, I never thought any game was offensively bad. They just sort of they went off into certain trends or directions I just didn't agree with. But I could never say a single Resident Evil game I found absolutely utterly despicable. None of them have ever hit that low. But I think what ended up making me fall out of love with them really was that I'm not saying Resident Evil got worse, but I'm a big fan of those old like Clock Tower, Haunting Ground, Sweet Home, tank control stuff. Like I'm a huge fan of that stuff. It's a niche I love. And Resident Evil 4 is a strong game, but then when it went on to
Too
what I
actiony.
liked, yeah, I just thought, I'm just not feeling. I know it's good for those 80s action buffs, movie buffs that love that kind of stuff, one-liners, a lot of crazy spectacle, but not. I just wasn't into that. And then when Resident Evil 7 came out, while it embraced horror a lot more closely, it just resembled too much of that first-person run from the enemy streamer type stuff I'd already grown so tired of. So I just didn't express any interest. I can't speak on the quality of those games, but like I said, even 5, 6, and the Revelations games, I don't think they're awful. They just stopped speaking to me. But yeah, Resident Evil. I don't think it's a terrible series. I still think it's very consistent. I was just a big fan of that GameCube era that I played of the PS1 and Sega Saturn ports.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yep.
Um, for me, I always like the idea of the early Resident Evils, like RE1, RE2,
Hmm.
RE0, Code Veronica 3. I liked the idea of those games. Sorry, Nemesis. I like the idea of
Hmm.
those games, but the controls always like I hate these tank controls. I hate
That's
the
really the
fact
hardest part of it, just playing it.
I hate the fact that okay, fair enough. In the first Resident Evil, it takes like 6, 7 shots to take down some zombies on higher difficulties.
Hmm.
Fair enough. But it makes no sense in RE2 where you have people who at this point have been around zombies for a little bit and know what they're doing, that they're still taking 6, 7 shots to take down zombies. I like the fact that in RE4, Leon's like, yeah, I've been dealing with this shit for a while. I know what I'm doing. It's like, yeah, shoot him in the head. Oh shit, I didn't expect that tentacle thing to come out of that dude's body. Well, I'll shoot that shit too. I like the fact that these people started getting more competent at dealing with infected people and T-virus and all that type of stuff. I do agree with you that 6 got a little too actiony. Like 4 for me is the perfect balance where you have someone
Yeah.
who, okay, I know, like Leon Kennedy, former member of STARS, Raccoon City policeman, got out of that shit. Now he's a special agent. He's been dealing with outbreaks of T virus around the world for a while now. So he's like used to weird shit jumping out and him being having to deal with it. Like at this point,
Right.
it makes sense that he's not going to be like, oh no, it's a zombie. He's like, yeah, fuck you. that's Leon now. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, 5. Actually, I liked the idea of 5, but they lost me when they had that DLC with Shiva, where they had her in that bullshit
Yeah,
ass
that
ethnic
Red
garb.
Riding Hood. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's times when I remember. Oh yeah, Resident Evil is a Japanese game.
Yeah, but they were wrong. They were wrong for that. They were wrong because I've read Japanese manga that had better representation of black people.
Oh, wrong costume. I know. It's the one that had the markings on her face and all that. Never mind.
And
Okay.
she's wearing like a cheetah print garb and shit, and she's got a bone in her nose. I'm like, first of all, there are African tribes that do that type of ornamentation, but they're not from where she's from.
Yeah, they always conflate them a lot.
Like that, y'all are just being dicks.
No, that's it's particularly why I'm so happy to see Street Fighter 6 Capcom doing a lot more research and being a lot more tactful.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was the thing where I was just like, y'all just don't care. Y'all just there's no but yeah, 5 had some good ideas because 5 felt like an evolution from 4. And then they were like, no, we can't do this, but there still was some horror in 5. Then they said we can't do that. In 5, I still stand by this. RE5 is a great game to play in couch co-op.
Oh, absolutely.
One of you play as Shiva, one of you play as Chris. You're gonna have a good time. The AI sucks, but if you're playing it with a normal human being, it's great. RE6, RE6 is like RE6. If you are a hardcore Resident Evil fan, you're gonna hate, but I'm not a hardcore Resident Evil fan, and I thought the absurdity of it, like Chris Redfield punching a damn boulder to stop a volcanic eruption, to make the boulder fall into a volcano to stop it from erupting. It's ridiculous shit like that made me happy, actually. I'm sorry. I know people are gonna get mad at me, but I did. I liked it.
No, it is ridiculous. Like, yeah, no, I can see the love. It's just that, like I said, since me when I never had a fondness for these movies, like I never saw it as awful. It's just more so, this is the same dude who sorry, this is the same dude who was just a specially trained cop a while ago, and now he's doing some Captain America stuff. It was a bit to swallow, but it's not like, oh, you ruined the series with it.
No, they basically all those people who survived Raccoon City, Leon, Chris, Claire, that other guy, I want to say Rock, but I don't. Yeah, Rock. All 4 of those people who survived the Raccoon City incident wound up becoming like secret special agents, like Leon did, where they were sent out because they survived the T virus outbreak in Raccoon City. They were sent to places where the Umbrella Corporation, that fucking virus had outbreaks to kill. So basically, and it's heavily implied that the reason they can do the superhuman things they do is that they've been exposed to the T virus, but they didn't mutate into fucking monsters. It just enhanced their natural abilities. So that's how they can do the things they can do. But that's neither here nor there. I agree with you. Resident Evil kind of, Actually, I'm one of the people, I didn't really like RE7, but Resident Evil 8 with Lady D. I was like, why'd you make that other person the villain? Lady D was a far more interesting villain.
No, and it sucks because I know they never predicted for it, but when it caught fire, they just capitalized on it. So much so when I finally saw her role, and I was like, wow, that was so microscopic.
Yeah, I know. She's just a henchman. She's not even a good henchman. She's just a henchman. But
Yeah.
she has more character than the main henchman of the game. Like once you play Resident Evil 8, it's like that's it. That was the major twist. It's like that's kind of stupid. Kenoshi, go ahead, Louis.
No, saying yeah, no, each of the set pieces were cool. Like I like that. What's his name? The hammer dude that sounds oddly like Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. Kenoshi, you're mighty quiet. You got anything to add before we move on to the next topic?
No.
All right. Here we go. Rune Factory 5. I pre-ordered it, I got it, and I really enjoy it. It's a really fun game.
You got it on Steam, right?
I got it on Steam.
Okay.
I played the Switch version. And I mean, you guys might not know this about me, but I'm a huge Rune Factory fanboy. I had Rune Factory 1 on the DS, and then I got Rune Factory 2, 3, and 4 on the 3DS.
Oh, I actually thought it was much older than that because I knew of the Rune Factory on DS. I thought it might have gone back as far as the PS2 days.
No. But people had been wanting a Harvest Moon game that was a little bit more than just you planting shit and watering it and mining and fishing. Like they wanted something a little bit more. So here comes Rune Factory. And I'm a huge Rune Factory fan. From the first game all the way up to the 4th game. Played and beat all of them, loved them all. On the handheld. When I heard there was a Rune Factory 5 coming out, I was looking forward to it until I played the demo they had on the Switch, and I was like, man, this runs like ass.
Like tolerable ass or intolerable ass?
Just ass. Like it's like like, okay, Rune Factory is a game where imagine Stardew Valley, but in Rune Factory 5, imagine Stardew Valley, but in 3D, where combat actually matters. Like, you actually need a decent frame rate in order to fight some enemies, especially bosses and shit. And you don't have that in Rune Factory on the Switch. Like, the
Okay.
frame rate dips. The frame rate's supposed to be 30 frames per second. It dips down into the 20s.
Not okay.
Exactly. And I didn't play it in handheld mode. I was playing it on docked mode, and it still was kind of like, I'm like, I don't want to really play this like this. So I said, I'm gonna wait till it comes on PC. Came on PC, and 60 frames, 120 frames, whatever you like. So already I'm enjoying it. I wish it had more graphical options, and my one Rune Factory curse is that in every Rune Factory, the character that I really want to hook up with is unavailable. Like in Rune Factory 4, there was a dragon that you could befriend, but you couldn't marry. I'm like, why can't I marry the dragon? My character's male, she's female. Come on, that's the dream of every character in an isekai anime, fantasy anime, is to hook up with the dragon chick. That's the
It's a dream right there.
that's the dream right there. Is to hook up with the dragon chick. Yeah. So yeah, Rune Factory 5 is really fun. It's clearly a budget title.
Oh no,
Like,
the double A, single A JRPGs are probably like my favorite thing now.
yeah, it feels like if you want to know what the game feels like, imagine a double A JRPG from the PS2 era, and that's what it feels like. But I liked the double A JRPGs from the PS2 era,
No, seriously.
so I'm enjoying it.
All right. You know, despite everything you've told me, I think I'll still get it on the Switch simply because I just love to play these anywhere where I'm at and just pull it out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like if I had a Steam Deck, that'd be another story. But right now, I'm not. I just don't want to shell out that much.
fair enough. Fair enough. For me, like, I was planning on doing. I was gonna learn coding, and I was like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna need a decent computer to learn coding. So I got a gaming PC on sale for like, normally it was like 1,500. I got it for 900. And with quite a few bells and whistles, I'm like, this is gonna be amazing. And then the pandemic happened. I was like, shit. So I have a gaming PC that I can like play anywhere, but like I haven't really used it for anything. But anyway, yeah. So Breath of the Wild is amazing. I love it. Sorry, not Breath of the Wild. Rune Factory 5 is
Cliff and that.
no. I was reading my list of topics. Rune Factory 5 is amazing. I love it. I've only put an hour into it, but I mean, I like the rest of the series, and just taking the 2D top down nature of the series and making it 3D, I still enjoy it. It's like it's not AAA. Like, if you want to know what a AAA approaching what a AAA Rune Factory would feel like, that Square Enix game that's like Harvest Moon.
Harvestella.
Yeah, Harvestella. Think that's good. That's like a AAA Harvest Moon. Sorry, a AAA Rune Factory.
Which
But
I was actually curious about myself. But
yeah, I'm gonna get
continue.
that too. I'm gonna get both of them because I want to see what a AAA Rune Factory would feel like. But I also like the janky ass double A Rune Factory.
No, that's true. It's just all great ideas end up in the AA purgatory.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, we have two other topics. You have any questions about Rune Factory before we move on to the next topic? Anything you're like, well, I'm thinking about getting it, but I have some questions.
Mm, I guess someone who's never played this kind of game. What's an average runtime for a first time playthrough looking like? Someone who's not really trying to 100% it.
You can beat it in about 20 hours. So about 2-3 days.
Jesus. Okay. All right.
It's not really.
In that case, I'll make the most of my playthrough in that case.
That's not really. I mean, that's if you just want to just get through the game. The
Okay.
problem with Rune Factory games is they're easy to get into, but they have difficulty spikes because there's certain areas where if you blaze through it and you don't spend time leveling up your character and crafting the right shit, you'll go into certain dungeons and get your ass handed to you because you'll be underpowered.
Okay.
So you kind of do have to take the time to like be like, okay, this is a fire dungeon. I have no fire weapons. I have nothing that I haven't unlocked recipes that give me fire protection, and I have no like I can't craft items that'll give me fire protection. I can't make food that'll give me fire protection. So basically, if I go in here ill prepared, I'm fucked. Like that's kind of that's kind of the flaw with Rune Factory is that there are some very easily seen and perceived barriers to going to certain areas. But if you know what you're doing and you have a good FAQ or walkthrough, you can probably get through that.
Understand. I'm never afraid to go to the internet for help if I'm really stumped. Like for example, in Shin Megami Tensei, I always usually hate the end game. And the thing is, my complaint it's not even a complaint. It's more so because Shin Megami Tensei, while it's no pushover, if you truly understand the systems, you can carry yourself early, mid game, late mid game pretty well, just so long as you're on your toes.
Yeah.
And then end game is the final, saying, all right, well now we're not gonna just go ahead and let you just do DPS checks anymore. Now you actually have to play chess with me. No more of this sweeping the board, and then you have to make specialized teams with certain abilities. You
Yeah.
actually have to go out and craft. And the thing is, it's really just me admitting I'm lazy. I just want to keep doing what I was doing. It's usually because I can tell when it's coming because literally anything you've been using to carry yourself for the
It
past
stops
70% of the
working
game.
or it gets really ineffective.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, damn it,
Yeah.
you're a clever game, you son of a bitch.
Really, Shin Megami Tensei, even more so than Persona, is really like Shin Megami Tensei because I played Megaton games with cheats and trainers.
Yep.
I've cheesed it. Megaton games are not built upon grinding. Megaton games are built upon how well, like what monsters, what demons you fused, like what your team makeup is. If you have a team of legendary monsters that have great resistances and absorptions and reflections and nullifications, you're good. You're good. Like just great. This guy likes to use electricity and fire. Unfortunately for you, I've got monsters on my team that absorb and heal electricity and fire. Go ahead, hit me. Yeah, I was almost dead because I fought some dudes earlier that I was weak against, but you just healed my entire team. You're stupid, and now I'm going to kill you. you know,
No, you possibly it's sort of like it's kind of like absolutely what's that system in Fire Emblem called? A triangle system, I think it is.
yeah,
It's like a slightly more elaborate triangle system that you've just completely busted wide open.
yeah. Megaton.
To,
No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
you have to say it seems like you're. It's more instead of grinding, it's outwitting the RNG.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to go around the well, it's not even the RNG. It's like you have to break the system. You have to understand the system. You spend 60% of the game understanding the rules of the system, and then the last 40% of the game figure out how to break those rules. Like the next 30% how to bend them, and then the last 10% how to break them, so that you can beat the game. If you know what you're doing in a Shin Megami Tensei game, you can totally just destroy everything.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you equip the right equipment and craft the right stuff and fuse the right demons, it becomes like it's like, man, I'm high level and I craft a super demon. I'm basically just destroying everything for the next like 5-10 hours till you get to the end game, and then you're gonna have to go back to a shrine someplace and fuse another group of like even like higher level demons after that, and then you're good. But it's based more upon your equipment and what your team makeup is versus
That's
just
true.
leveling up.
For example, because I just played Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse for 3DS about a year back, and its final boss is it's practically a super boss in disguise, man. It requires such preparation that Oh, oh my goodness! Like if you guys if you either you guys have 3DS, it's a fun game to play. It's actually probably the easiest SMT I've ever played. Except the final boss is just such a turn that, oh my goodness! Like I normally don't have that much trouble with SMT final boss, so that one literally took me around the corner and ugh,
And beat you. Took you
beat
around the
me with
corner and
a
beat you with a broom handle.
tell me about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, just always like no, because I think something that's similar experience to what you're describing, Rune Factory, was like in Dark Cloud towards the end game, some of those labyrinths got really long, and you just didn't have enough of that powder to repair your weapons. And if that weapon you really worked hard to get to that stage broke, well,
You were SOL. Yeah.
you're starting from scratch, or you could go ahead and just reload that last save file and do these 40 floors again. Like I said, when that did happen, it sucked. I tried to
Yeah.
get through it, but it just meant you had to prepare more. But good God, you just had no idea how long those labyrinths would go because they could go.
I mean, basically for me, when I played Dark Cloud, because I've beaten that game so many times,
Right.
my strategy was I would basically always have multiple powerful swords on me. So when one started to get kind of not very durable, like I'd have like 5 or 6 of them. I'd switch out, and I'd keep my most. I wouldn't even equip my most powerful one. I would save that for the boss, and then like I basically would have like maybe like 10 of those repair powders and maybe 4 of those automatic repair powders that would fully repair your weapon if it broke, just in case. And then like once I got to the final floor, I'm like, okay, like floor 39, floor 29. I'm like, okay, I'm about to fight the final boss. Let me get my real sword, my 7-star sword, which was like one of the most powerful swords you could craft in Dark Cloud that Tone could use. And that game was. I'm going to tell you right now. Anyone here who wants to say, "Hey, man, I want to play a good AA JRPG of the PS2 era," Dark Cloud. Uh, Dark Cloud 2 is kind of hit or miss, but the unofficial sequel to Dark Cloud 2, which is Rogue Galaxy.
What?
Rogue
Okay.
Galaxy.
See, I'd gotten so many recommendations for that myself, and I saw, I was like, it looks so much like Dark Cloud, but I never made the connection.
It's made by the same team.
Wow. And that was Try It. No, that's level 5.
Level 5. Yep, level 5. There
Okay.
was a time during the 6th gen where level 5, almost everything level 5 was making was fucking amazing. Because they made Dragon Quest 8, Dragon Quest 9, Fantasy Life, Dark Cloud 2, Rogue Galaxy. Like,
Let's
level 5
see.
was insane
They made
during the
some
6th gen.
Inazuma games. Oh yeah, they also made White Knight Chronicles. Oh.
I never played White Knight Chronicles. I heard about
Okay,
it, but
but
I'm like, I don't really.
okay, I remember that Jean d'Arc game that was a big thing for PSP fans. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. They've got a prestige about them that just kind of tapped out just like 7 years
Yeah,
ago.
well, they got too big and they started trying to be like the big boys when that wasn't really their
Yeah, no, like
niche.
they caught lightning in the bottle with Yokai, at least successfully. I can't speak on the game's quality with Yokai Watch.
The first 2 games are pretty good, and then they
Okay.
like the problem is that they wanted Yokai Watch to be like Pokemon, and I'm like, you're not gonna be like Pokemon because Pokemon just has too much of the market,
Yeah.
and they should have basically focused on making good games and maybe licensing it out on a smaller level, but they wanted to grow too big too fast, and
No,
it just
absolutely.
didn't work for them. And then they
Yeah,
bought, you know,
they had so much gold in their hands. Like they had a Miyazaki inspired JRPG. They had a Yokai Watch, and hell, I was like, how do you let that slip out of your fingers? Because I I hear moderately good things about the first Nino Kuni. I haven't played it myself. I do think it looks beautiful though, but Nino Kuni 2, absolutely nothing but either bitterness or just nonplussed.
yeah, but Nino, the first Nino Kuni plays like what you would hope an evolution of Pokemon would be.
Okay.
Nino Kuni 2 is just basically a basic as hell Tails game.
Yeah.
Like you don't even like in the first Nino Kuni, you could control monsters, and your monsters basically, like, you as a player could fight, but really your monsters were doing a lot of the work. Ni no Kuni 2 just turns into a Tales game. They replaced the monsters with these little, like, fairy creatures that kind of don't do much of anything. And most of your combat is your character just swinging your weapon around, attacking enemies, just, like a Tales game. And not a good in-depth Tales game, like a basic Tales game knockoff, if you will. I mean, that's kind of the problem with what's it called? With Ni no Kuni 2 is that it is very basic. It's basic as fuck. The story isn't that good either. It's one of those, the power of friendship and the power of darkness will overcome all things. It's like, man, shut the fuck up.
And I know they incorporated a bit of a town sim aspect. And the thing is, those can work. Those can work, but I guess when you force like a brand new mechanic on a franchise, I guess it doesn't work for Ni no Kuni's 2 case since there's only 2 games. It's a game of first. For example, I guess when Metal Gear Solid started incorporating team management, troop management, and sending people on missions, that was an aspect of that old veterans weren't really able to hop onto. Whereas for Ni no Kuni, it introduced a town sim, and like I said, it's only the second game, so it's not too late to introduce new stuff. But to some people, the town simulation can be a little overwhelming and probably turn them off.
Well, I'll be 100% honest with you. The town sim aspect of Ni no Kuni 2 wasn't really that bad. The only flaw with the town sim is that some of your character abilities were locked behind unlocking and recruiting people for your town, for your kingdom. That was kind of one of the flaws of the game, was that core abilities that should have been unlocked just by you leveling up and playing the game were locked behind you being a good king and recruiting people to your kingdom and fulfilling requests and shit like that. So it kind of felt like a little bit of a throwback to something like an ActRaiser 1, a little bit, in that regard. But really, I mean, the problem with Ni no Kuni 2 really was just that the story wasn't really that good, and
No, like the most interesting thing I hear about is apparently you play the Prime Minister of Japan or something.
yeah, well, he's not really the Prime Minister of Japan. Roland is okay, in the first Ni no Kuni, the Ni no Kuni games, the big conceit of the Ni no Kuni games is that the main character is always the doppelganger of someone else in the game. There's always, that person is the main character. So in Ni no Kuni 1, Oliver is the doppelganger of the evil dark Magus, who's just an older, corrupted version of Oliver.
I see.
And I know people say, spoiler, look, the game is over 10 years old. If you haven't played it by now, I don't know what to say to you. And then in Ni no Kuni 2, ironically enough, Evan, the king, is not the main character. The main character of the game is actually Roland, because it turns out that the evil guy who's set all these motions, all this shit in motion to fuck up the guardians of each of these other kingdoms is Roland's evil twin. Like, the guy who was an old guy becomes a young guy in the beginning of the game, who's like president of Earth. Like, he's basically president of Earth. Like, he's like one of the major political figures of the planet. But there's this massive nuclear explosion because shit was not going well, and he gets sent to the world of Ni no Kuni, and he's actually the main character. But you play, like, they try to fool you. They're like, Evan's the main character, kind of like how, you know how Star Wars tried to fool people at first. The Force Awakens, you thought that Finn was going to be the main character. But then they swapped it out for Rey. You're like, who the fuck is this bitch? not in a bad way, but it's like, I was more the stormtrooper with the lightsaber was more interesting. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, I mean, you know, level 5 made some good games, but that's enough about that. Let's keep it moving. We have three more topics. The last one will be our hot takes, but the Intellivision Amico has imploded wonderfully. It's been amazing how this thing has imploded. It would be funny if it wasn't so. Well, I wouldn't even say sad. It's just kind of funny, really. So basically, the only thing I have to say about it is this. My advice to anyone is, just because someone is successful in one aspect of their life doesn't mean they will be successful in other aspects of their life. For example, I think two of the best video game music composers of all time are Koji Kondo and David Wise. But if Koji Kondo and David Wise popped up and said, "Hey guys, we're going to make a video game console," I wouldn't exactly be rushing to give them money. I love Robin Bean. Is it Robin Graham? Yeah, no, Robin Bean. He's the guy who did a lot of the music for Killer Instinct. But just because I like these people doesn't mean I trust them to make a fucking video game console. Just because someone's successful in one aspect of their life doesn't mean they're going to be as successful in every aspect of their life. And it's ignorant to make that supposition.
If I'm not mistaken, because the last thing I heard about is that I guess it was delisted or something like that.
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Not only was it delisted, basically they lost their patent went out. Their offices are closed. They're being rented out now. Like all the people who were involved with it were out. Like the shit was supposed to come out last year, and last year, no, the year before last, 2020, and literally like Tommy Tallarico is lying to people saying, "Oh, the assembly lines are ready. It's about to go ship out." But they were doing fucking job resume requests, like position requests on job boards, saying they needed front end and back end engineers and designers to make the shit, which that doesn't jive. I mean, the thing was a scam from jump.
Yeah, no, like all I'm picturing is that sorry, that head of development there just sort of packing his bag, getting on a plane to some uncharted island and then hiding out for the rest of his life.
They didn't have a head of development. They basically, what they did is that they essentially hired a whole bunch of people. They paid a whole bunch of people a small check, a small fee to use their name for a brief moment of time in order to get people on board to give them money. I mean, it was some scam shit. Kenoshi, you have any thoughts?
This whole thing just seems to be a mess from the start. He was criticizing people for being racist if they talk negatively about the console. He was blocking people from talking negatively. He paid off people to talk positively about the console.
Yeah, he would go to
shut off as a complete mess.
Yeah, he would go to Crumbside YouTubers and like use them to attack people who were critical, who were asking questions that anyone with a brain would ask about something that people want. Like, people are asking you for money. People should be able to ask, "Hey, this doesn't seem like it's right."
No, like I think we spoke the first time because the only time I'd ever heard of this was when they duped me into thinking Earthworm Jim 4 was ever going to be a thing. That was the only reason I ever looked at this thing. But as soon as they told me in television Amico, I was like, all right.
Yeah, this ain't gonna make it.
Like, you'll send me this, and it's like a brick of drywall or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm like, first of all, the fact that you're making a so-called Earthworm Jim follow-up and you're putting it on a console that no one's even heard of for like 40 years, you're insane.
Right.
clearly this is bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. And like I was talking last night on my cast, it's like, you know, these the reason you don't see more consoles besides the big three, is because it's cost billions of dollars to get the console up and running, and then it's cost even more money to
Yeah.
maintain the lifespan.
I mean, unless you're someone like Nintendo, like the only company that I could see going making a console again, and that's if they had a lot of money because they've done it before, not really well after their second console, but they could do it. It's maybe Sega.
Today?
I could see if Sega, if Sega, let's say if Sega was able to get like, let's say like a $10 billion payout,
Hmm.
like someone like somehow some way someone gave them $10 billion, I could see them releasing another console.
With the host of exclusives they have now, I think they've got a good, like, they go ahead and make Persona Sega exclusive. They go ahead and make Sonic, Yakuza,
Yeah,
Valkyria Chronicles.
make all their Atlas shit because they bought Atlas. Make all of their Total War games. They're
Oh,
say
that's a pretty penny right there.
get exclusive to that console and maybe PC. I think Sega could do it. But that's because Sega has a lot of IPs that they could do that shit with. You know? They'd still
Right.
have to play ball to get third parties on board.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, like, especially I imagine them taking back Bayonetta, Mad World too.
Well, I don't think
Yeah,
Mad World,
that's
because Mad World is that game didn't do that well.
Unfortunately, because that's one of my favorites.
Oh, I like Mad World.
who's gonna give, but who's gonna give Sega $10 billion when we know that they haven't been very good with money?
I mean, I think, like personally, I think it would just be cool if this little special partnership they did with Microsoft, they just like they got $10 billion from Microsoft because Microsoft has $10 billion, and like they just use that to make a Sega console, like a modern Sega console.
Yeah, that super game thing is starting to sound a little scummy.
I mean, we don't really know
Although
anything about it. There hasn't been any information that's come out about it.
Hmm.
I mean, I guess they want to implement NFTs, but at the same time, that might all. I mean, who knows when it's supposed to come out? They
The
might
thing
change their
is
minds
that
on that.
they haven't said anything about the Super Game Initiative. They just gave us a name and they said it's going to help us make more games. I don't know. Like they haven't said anything about
They,
NFTs or
they've 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 mentioned it, but it's in very vague and
yeah.
uh, vague languages. Vague language. Like they
It's
put out a
bullshit word
not
business word salad to talk about what it
yeah.
is. Like, but they didn't say anything about NFTs, and why should they? Because everything that NFTs has touched has basically fallen into the ground.
I hope
Yeah.
Square Enix would listen to that because they're still pursuing it.
Oh, NFTs, y'all know this bullshit ain't gonna make it, right?
Mm,
Y'all are aware that NFTs are just crashing to the ground, right?
yeah. Excuse me.
But that's my own personal opinion. Anyway, um, uh, anyone else have anything else
There's the
to say about the Amico?
No, not particularly. It was dust in the wind.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah it was. They should have just made another Android box, I guess.
You mean
Mm,
like the Ouya?
the Nvidia Shield or whatever.
I remember the
Nvidia
Nvidia
Shield
Shield.
seems Nvidia Shield TV seems like to be the only one of the successful Android box
Really?
set top
I didn't know the
boxes
Nvidia Shield
so
was an
far.
Android box.
Yeah, the Nvidia Shield TV. Yeah, it's a little Android box that you can play games off of, and it's a pretty decent emulation, little emulator station
So it's
too.
kind of
So
like those when they go ahead those little engineers make those portable GameCube PS2 things. That's okay. Um,
yeah, but yeah, I mean that's the only one I know of that has any really like the gaming Android television set top box. That's like the only one I know that's been really successful.
mm.
Other than maybe Apple TV and the Amazon Fire TV stuff, but other than that, like something that you could play games off of and customize and all
Yeah,
that other stuff.
I guess unfortunately the biggest hurdle mobile games because what the most successful mobile games are the ones that feed off like the people's needs for repetition and
Yeah, spinner boxes.
there you go. But there are some companies that go ahead and actually put a good deal of effort into their mobile games. Like Mistwalker came out with some kind of throwback JRPG on it that looks higher budget than most of the gotcha stuff. But unfortunately, like the people that that game is aimed towards to probably don't want to play on their phone, and that game is exclusive to I think Apple Arcade, and it probably has no way of making it onto something more accessible.
No, it'll eventually go other places because a lot of Apple Arcade games after their exclusivity ends. 'Cause Apple Arcade is like Epic, where they
Hmm,
give those publishers, those developers, like a big chunk of money.
okay.
Like I think it's like
A lot of those,
10-15 million dollars.
a lot of those games are just like being trapped in the house of stairs, where you're constantly just running to and fro and dancing for the machine,
Well,
hoping for a reward to get spit out. You
I mean,
you throw more and more of your money in,
I mean,
hoping to be successful.
Apple Arcade is
But
like Epic, where Epic, like I don't have anything against Epic having exclusivity for some games, especially if it's for smaller studios and indies, because then they're going to get a guaranteed amount of money plus whatever sales they get off of Apple Arcade. Like they get a chunk of that too. And then after a while, they can take that money and use it to work on other builds of the game, so that when the exclusivity thing runs out, they can put that game on other things and get more money. I have a problem with AAA studios and developers put exclusive games on Epic. I'm like, your game would have made money no matter where you put it, and now you're just
Hmm,
being greedy. But Miss Walker is a small studio. It's not huge, so
yeah.
I'm not against them doing that. Now if it was Square Enix, like they did with fucking Kingdom Hearts 3, made it an Epic Store exclusive. Okay, that's some bullshit. Because that's a AAA game. But,
Right.
it's a different beast when it's a smaller studio. But that's my opinion. Which leads to the final bit of our cast, which is our hot takes, aka unpopular opinion. No, sorry, Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 is coming out October 28th. It's
yeah,
the big Halloween game. They added
yeah,
something
it actually
interesting,
looks
the perv
Oh.
and not perv mode. So if you
Hey,
want to see,
just in case your mom walks in on you in the living room.
I mean, I'm a grown ass man and I live by myself, but
Right.
but I mean, if for some reason you're afraid that someone will judge you for wanting to see a hot lady get almost naked except for her magic hair that covers strategic parts of her body when she uses her special attacks, they got you covered, or they've got her covered, to be more precise.
Aha.
Aha!
well, the
No.
thing.
How's that a nice
Well,
turn for a phrase? I bet you didn't know
well,
I'm a cunning linguist.
well, haha. Well, I guess this helps for those people who want to go ahead and, show this to a larger group of people. I mean, look, I played Xenoblade 2 on a plane for 9 hours. I, I'm afraid of nothing, but yeah, I mean, it's a neat touch, I guess. That more options
Well,
is always good. But I guess on Bayonetta 3, I'm glad they finally revealed it. I kind of wish Nintendo would stop doing this thing where they just drop a trailer on Twitter and then it gets to everyone like an hour later. But no,
well,
still happy regardless.
the thing is, I was worried about the game when they first showed it off because I was like, man, this looks really rough.
Hmm.
I'm
it
sure
look
they
it does
did.
look better. Yeah.
It does look, significantly better.
I mean,
Significantly.
it looks like the best Wii U game ever. Which doesn't bother me because I think in a lot of ways the Wii U was a better console than is a more capable console than the Switch. But
Oh, okay. At that, well, yeah, sure, of course. As a machine, absolutely.
so
Um,
I'm not
Instead of
against
fighting,
it looking like a Wii U console. I'm like, oh, okay, I like the Wii U.
you're fighting homunculi in this game, so I wonder if there's going to be a sorcerer's stone or not a philosopher's stone involved.
No, I just think they just wanted to have human-like enemies, but not have them be humans because they didn't want to hear any bullshit from anyone about it.
yeah, I mean, like the thing about Bayonetta is that, all in all, it's just using namesakes what's that story? Dante Alighieri's.
Dante's Inferno.
Infernos.
There you go. That's the one. Yeah, it just uses namesakes from that book, but it really doesn't resemble anything from it. It's like I always like to look at it as like the most metal anime episode of Betty Boop ever, since it's essentially
Yeah,
just a
it,
gun-toting flapper girl just beating demons up.
it's the evolution of Devil May Cry, except because they obviously can't use assets from Devil May Cry.
Right.
So, I mean, this is
Yeah.
essentially what you
So
what you
basic,
get when you
yeah,
can't
basically,
make a Devil May Cry game.
yeah, Hideki Kamiya and the Devil May Cry guy Shinji Mikami wanted to make a DMC game, but they didn't have the rights to Dante, so they made a DMC game with a female protagonist. Who, in my opinion, I think Bayonetta is a much better protagonist than Dante because Dante
That
is generic as fuck.
She is more interesting. She is more
um
interesting.
as for myself, I find Bayonetta much more entertaining as a character because I think Dante really worked during those old 2000 days of attitude that were lingering from the 90s, where your character had to have sass, one-liners, comebacks, all sorts of exaggerations. Where now that's a little bit obnoxious. Whereas Bayonetta, she's just always peppy and over the top, having fun in every scene she's in.
Well, I mean, the thing that makes Bayonetta interesting to me is that she is a sexy woman who knows she's sexy.
Hmm.
She revels in it. She's like, yeah, I'm fucking hot. And what are you gonna do about it? I ain't giving you none. That's
I guess
basically.
another thing. Well, I guess another thing I also like. I don't know how much of this to credit to Nintendo because I know Nintendo fronted a lot of the production for Bayonetta 2. I'm not sure how much of it for 3 they're involved in. But I do love some of the creative influences that they brought in with 2 and 3. As I said, I don't know how much of this is Nintendo's influence or just Platinum maturing. Because Bayonetta 1, while I think it's a pretty strong game, it's just besides Bayonetta herself, it's just a really dull looking game.
Oh yeah,
Everything's very
it's
washed.
very
It looks like
gray.
everything's either a
Yeah.
small European village or a monastery.
Yeah,
But Bayonetta herself is the best looking thing in it.
yeah,
And then Bayonetta 2, everything's glamorous. Everything's very bright, colorful. It looks like Rio, and then Bayonetta 3 right here. It looks like Kamen Rider, man. It looks like crazy Fifth Element Kamen Rider.
yeah. I mean, I like Bayonetta. I think if they ever make a Bayonetta 4, I would like to see them take it into more of a pseudo semi-open world type thing. I think
Okay.
that would be
I just started a
interesting.
job as a kids party and
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, I especially like because I notice how some people are starting to point out that
my name
Bayonetta is really starting to look distinct from its predecessor because one thing I always had that I think Bayonetta struggled with at the time because I don't think it's ever been a stupid hot seller. I don't think it's ever underperformed. I
It
think it's
does
Switch.
okay.
Yeah, it does okay.
Everyone sells over 1 million. So
Yeah, so I've
Wow.
always thought that they had a tough time sort of capturing its identity where I think Bayonetta was really the one thing people pointed out from it. Like they didn't really, it's DMC but cheap. It's DMC but not as good. But now that I see these what people are calling gimmicks or set pieces are really helping it stand apart. Like you're literally platform with a spider. You can go ahead and transform to different forms and all the spectacles from her Umbra attacks. I dig that. I mean, Devil May Cry does what it does well, and I think Bayonetta does what it does differently just as well.
Well, I mean, with that being said, I guess it's time to lead into our hot takes because I have some hot takes about Devil May Cry. I'm about
Oh,
to say
buddy.
something that's gonna make people mad, but I don't care. I've said it before. I'm gonna say it again. I didn't think the DMC reboot was bad. I actually liked it more than the modern than the ones that have traditional Dante.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it too. I didn't think it was nearly as bad as people were
In,
making it
in
out to be.
in what regards, might I ask?
I thought the combat was not a little bit far more accessible. I thought the attitude that Dante had was better for a modern age. Because Dante in the other games is just kind of weird.
Hmm.
Like he's just fucking
Yeah.
weird. That's his thing. Whereas
He's like a really neurotic frat boy.
I mean, not
Well, I
even
mean,
not even a frat boy. He's that like Dante in the mainline Dante, like how he's been in other games. He basically is just that guy who, like in Japan, there are people who dress weird just because it's fucking weird. Like that's what they do, and it's like, I mean, if you just want to be known as the guy who's just fucking weird, then cool. But I mean, come on. Um,
the only problem I have with the game, and it's a pet peeve, a lot of it's just lore based, is the birth of Dante and Virgil. Apparently, they are Nephilim that were created by an angel and a demon.
yeah.
Which, if you know anything about Nephilim, that doesn't make any sense. But that's just a pet peeve.
No,
Yeah.
About the game
no,
itself.
it totally makes sense if you follow pop. I mean, none of the shit makes sense. I
Well,
mean,
I guess what it is that uh, in the if I'm not mistaken, the earliest example of Nephilim, it was said that they are the birth of angels and people, not
yeah,
angels and demons. But that's
no,
more just
but
technicalities.
that
Yeah,
actually
no,
does make sense
yeah.
because if you're the sons of a if because the Nephilim were called heroes of the ancient age. They were the sons of angels and humans,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
demons also. I mean, if there's a female demon and she fucks a Nephilim, I mean,
Well, I
Sure.
mean, in the Nephilim lore, they're the Nephilim because they weren't sanctioned by God. When they died, they became demons. But I don't
Hmm.
want to get off on a tangent.
my point. Look, listen. I'm not going to argue Christian theology and biblical lore because why would I trust the biblical lore of people who believe that the Earth was flat and that the sun, when it went down, when the sun set, that it just died and it was reborn the next day? None of this shit should be taken seriously.
Yeah, I guess so. But right.
Anyway, so like that's like getting hung up. Well, actually, technically speaking, rhinoceroses are actually related to horses. So, in a technical term, rhinoceroses really are unicorns. Hey, shut the fuck up. That's how I feel when people
No,
argue about stuff like that. It's
no,
it's
that's why I said it. That's why I said it was a pet peeve and not.
yeah, that I'm just saying. No, I'm being facetious. I'm joking. But I get where you're coming from. That is kind of bothersome. But aside from its lore things and how it kind of changed some stuff up, I just thought it was a very good modern interpretation of Dante that made it more modern. Like Dante went from being just some weird guy who dressed weird because he's weird to like he's this fucking brat
Yeah.
who has a guilt complex because fucked up shit keeps on happening to him because he's a fucking he's half he's
Half angel, half demon.
half angel, half demon. And because he lives as a human, like he keeps on getting pulled into the supernatural world and having fucked up shit happen around him. He's like, what the fuck? So I mean, if shit like that happened to you, and then everyone thinks you're crazy, and him seeing people turn into demons, him killing people, and it's like, oh, you murdered all those people. No, they were demons. Shit like that. I also thought it had much better boss fights than anything we had in the normal DMC games. I think the cutscenes were awesome. The thing where you have to fight the Slurm demon monster, the demon queen who's shitting out the energy drink. And he's like, hey, fuck you, no, fuck you, fuck you. Like, I thought that was, I'm like, this is the most Dante thing ever, because even old school Dante would have done some shit like that. But no, these people, oh, he doesn't have blonde hair. I don't like, hey, shut the fuck up. Sorry. That's how I felt when I heard people complaining about that game. Like,
I really didn't think that. I never really thought Dante was that kind of character to freak out about if it, any major change happened. But
no.
I guess if people, you read the anime and read all the manga and stuff, and follow the external lore outside the games, maybe I could see you being pissed.
Yeah, but that's only like maybe 1% of the people who play DMC games. That's even small. I mean, DMC is not this huge fucking seller. It's not. It's not the whole. Look, DMC ain't Mario, Zelda, Legend of Zelda. It's not Mario, Legend of Zelda, Metroid, or Donkey Kong.
Yeah, in fact, it's always been pretty. It's really the character himself that's given to such prominence. DMC5 itself, I think, is probably the highest selling it at 3.9 mil apparently, which is a series record. But it's not with the big boys.
No. So when I heard people, oh, this isn't I'm like, man, let other people enjoy this shit that clearly not enough people are having fun with.
And some Violet.
Like, why are you like getting mad at
How
other
are
people enjoying something that was a niche franchise any damn way?
Right. Well, and I will say that certainly is a fresh hot take. Myself, no, I don't have any ire towards the game. It was during that phase in the early 2010s where Capcom was putting out a lot of their IPs to Western devs. Like that was when they were getting that Lost Planet 3, Dark Void, DMC Devil May Cry, and some other fourth thing I want to say. I wasn't a fan of any of those games, to be honest, but I won't lie. I'm not.
I know what that fourth game it was. It was Captain Commando, not Captain.
That's
Commando.
the one.
No, it wasn't Captain.
No,
Commando. It was Bionic Commando.
There we
Bionic
go.
Commando.
Bionic Commando.
Yep.
Yep. With the talking with the wife was his arm, and I was like, anyways, I didn't like any of those games. I will say DMC was probably the best of those in my opinion.
Yeah.
Bionic Commando being the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's a split between Bionic Commando being the worst and Lost Planet 3. Lost Planet 3 was pretty goddamn bad.
Yeah. Worst retelling of the first one ever. And I don't even like Lost Planet that much anyways. It's a inoffensive series to me. It had some neat ideas though. Anyways.
I thought Lost Planet could have been great if it had been handled a little bit better. But it wasn't, so.
Right. So myself, because the developer of DMC, Ninja Theory, I hope I'm not confusing them with Team Ninja, but Ninja Theory myself, I always think their games look fantastic. They always knock it out. Like, they look good. I think Heavenly Sword still looks good to this day. I think DMC looks pretty good. Even that game, Senua Hellblade, I was like, wow, that's a really pretty looking game. You guys don't, or that Odyssey game. I'm forgetting the name of it.
Lost Odyssey, not Lost
Odyssey.
Odyssey, Journey to the West.
Enslaved Odyssey.
It's Enslaved Journey to the West.
Yeah, that game's good. That game looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, I always compliment it because like whatever game they come out, I always think it looks like it belongs to the gen that came after it. Or at least it belongs at the tail end of the current gen it's in. But yeah, no, I'll always compliment them on that. I can't say I've ever liked their gameplay as deeply. Like DMC5, if I'm not even comparing it to anything else, because I think when you compare stuff a lot, it really ruins a criticism. So I don't think DMC had particularly bad combat. I think it was very serviceable for what I needed to be. As for Dante's personality, I think it fits a Western. A very Western, even American presentation of it. Like I said, I found it inoffensive. It's not one of my favorites. I do think people are being particularly histrionic about it. I can't say I would have hired not Team Ninja, Ninja Theory for it. I think they're good with their own ideas, not really adapting others. I mean, personally.
Well, the thing about the story behind that game is that they did want to follow the lore of the DMC stuff, but Capcom was like, no, make something different.
Right.
So it wasn't all Ninja Theory. It was Capcom being like, yeah, make something completely different.
Yeah, but also I don't think every Western developed Capcom game was bad. Like for example, Bionic Commando Rearmed and Rearmed 2 are pretty damn good games.
Oh
The
yeah,
first
they're
game is
fantastic.
great. The second game's pretty good, and those are Western developed games. The
I want to say they
Strider
made that
game,
Strider. Yep, Strider.
and that game, I mean, it's not exactly what I would have done had I been in control of designing that game, but for what it is, it plays very well.
Yeah, like a super fast Metroidvania.
Yeah, it's basically a Strider Metroidvania game. So I can't say that every Western developed game done by Capcom was shit. And I think DMC was actually pretty good. I think the flaw with it was that you just had a whole bunch of vocal fanboys whining about, oh, it's different. Not everything that's different is bad. Sometimes shit is different, and like that difference makes it better.
Yeah, they were mad as hell when that game got announced.
Yeah.
Its influence isn't gone either because because DMC Devil May Cry, after that they really did embrace the photorealism with not RE with DMC5, and while I don't think that style fits Japanese DMC particularly well because I find DMC5 to be a really ugly looking game myself. The influence is there. For one, new Nero is so obviously taking after DMC Dante. You can't even ignore it. Yeah, I was about to say it's there. They're worth good ideas there. Like one of my favorite things about DMC Devil May Cry is that the environments and set pieces, they look like metal album cover arts, and that's great. Like it's so twisted and aesthetically thrilling. Like seriously, whenever you're going through like any level and the environment start to shift, it's like seeing pure madness in art form.
And that's what I mean, because that played into the game, because the whole point was that demons were taking over parts of Earth, and like normal humans weren't aware of it. Like normal humans, unless you were like a special normal human, you weren't aware of it. Only people who had the blood of angels or demons running through their veins in some capacity could see it. So that's why people thought Dante was a fucking murderer and killing people, because he would get dragged into the demon realm. It's like, oh shit, what the fuck is this shit?
It's They Live with Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, and that was a really, that was a really cool concept. And these fucking DMC fanboys, oh, we don't want that. We could have had an entire series that had some really interesting shit going on, but instead we got a one and done because of these fucking fanboys. So yeah, that's my opinion about it.
And it's funny because they actually released an enhanced version of the game that really fixed a lot of the issues, genuine issues I think some players have with the game. I want to say it came out 4 or 5 years ago, but yeah.
Now, the thing about the new DMC is it reminds me it was like a twisted version of Brave New World meets 1984 meets Alice Madness Returns.
Oh, that's not bad actually.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I like that game.
No. Like I will say it's definitely the most creative Devil May Cry. It really is, because here's the thing. The big fascination with a lot of the other Devil May Cries is that it's very much wrestling. It's wrestling schlock, rivalries, cool power ups, awesome spectacle. It's Saturday morning stuff you see a lot. I won't lie. There's nothing really to dig into the plots and or characters of Devil May Cry. It's wrestling.
Yeah.
Whereas to DMC Devil May Cry, Ninja Theory was imaginative. I cannot deny that.
I liked
Devil
it.
May Cry.
That's all I'm gonna say. I liked it. I thought it was good.
And then in the new Devil May Cry, I don't know if you guys know this, but the original Devil May Cry started out as a Resident Evil game. That's why it has all this. That's why the controls.
Yeah. It has those tank control fixings. Yeah.
And the camera angles. That's probably why the Devil May Cry 5.
Yep.
Like
Castle setting. Yeah.
Fits in a Resident and like could fit into one of the new Resident Evil.
They should do a crossover. I think that would be cool. Like Like you start out as a Resident Evil game, and you have like maybe Chris, Leon, Claire, maybe some other characters, and they're like, "Oh shit, we're fucked. We're trapped in this castle. These zombies are coming. Wesker's coming. We're fucked." And then a portal opens, and out comes Dante and slicing and dicing these dudes up. It's like, you guys need to, like, what the fuck am I doing? Who are you guys? What's going on here? They're like, "Who the hell are you? How the hell you get here?"
I mean, the way things are going, I mean, the Umbrella Corporation could have opened up a portal, because it seems like the DLC for Resident Evil 8 involves magic of some sort, or
Or
some sort of supernatural powers.
it's not really magic. It's just the fungus is so weird that people think it's magic. But I could get where you're coming from. Because this isn't the first time Capcom has done a crossover with themselves. I mean, play Namco cross Bandai. Tons of crossovers in that shit.
Yeah, they even had this nice little 20, because the anniversaries for Mega Man and Street Fighter 5, like the even numbered ones, were falling around the same date. So they literally had a Mega Man game where a free browser Mega Man game where all the bosses were just Street Fighter 2 characters, and it was a cute thing.
No, they didn't do that for the anniversary. They did that because Keiji Inafune left and they canceled everything, and so they had that fan made project. And Capcom's like, "Shit, we need to do something. We'll take this from the fans and put it out there that we did something." That's when
There
they
we
were
go,
still in
'cause-
that fuck Inafune phase of life.
Right, because that was 10 years ago. My memory's a bit hazy. Well, for my bad take, well, not bad, hot take, I meant. It might be a tad bit misinformed, since I guess you'd say I'm being more emotional. So I think Nintendo of America, it's as in specifically Nintendo of America, it's American division of Nintendo. I'm thinking they're complete morons at this rate, because honestly, whenever I see them marketing literally any game that isn't particularly a heavy hitter, like for example, recently they had that big fiasco Xenoblade Special Edition right now. They didn't even market Bayonetta 3. Nintendo of UK was the first one to do it, which I don't get.
They can't market it. You want to know why?
Why?
Because Bayonetta has titties.
It's just because like I don't think they have a bias against. Well, historically they have had a bias against Xenoblade. They didn't want to market it. They didn't even want to dub
They didn't
it.
want to bring it over.
Yeah,
People
they
had to
wanted-
beg for they had
Yeah.
to beg for that and Last Story. Because remember
I always
Operation?
thought
Oh no,
Reggie-
well you're probably too young. Operation Rainfall.
And
Nintendo
Pandora's Tower.
fans, yeah, and Nintendo fans had to fucking beg to get those games brought over.
I remember
Beg!
when Reggie came. I remember when Reggie came out and said that bullshit, like, "Yeah, we don't cave to demand like that." It's like, yeah, you guys did. Come on.
Yeah.
I know you gotta give your business speech and act like you don't cave into to demands or to petitions, but you guys did eventually. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have
'cause,
no idea why they didn't want to bring that game over. Was there like a story about that? Like why they didn't want to bring those games over?
I think
'Cause they
Nintendo
were-
of America just has very much no interest in JRPGs unless it's Pokemon. Really, I think they just capitalize on Mario sports games, Pokemon, and
Shit that's easy to market, basically.
Yeah.
Because Pokemon, you don't even like literally. I don't know why they fucking have commercials for Pokemon games. The Pokemon Company is, I think, the most valuable entertainment IP in the industry. They don't need they know how to market their own shit. Nintendo doesn't have to do shit to market Pokemon shit.
that's true. It's sells
Sports
itself.
games. I mean, come on,
I
man.
think I don't know if that was a Photoshop, a Photoshop or what. But I remember seeing an image of Nintendo of America saying we hate Xenoblade. I think
beginning
that was
to think
a
so.
Photoshop or fake, but they might.
Yeah,
don't
like,
know.
I mean,
It's crazy.
I think
because,
they just, no, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, because there's going to be a couple special presentations for the Japanese Expo from the Nintendo stand or whatever, I'm not sure, conference, and the first two people reported were, of course, Nintendo Japan, Nintendo France, and I feel like Nintendo America is really just there's just so I hate to use this word. They're just very
Useless.
much useless and casual consumer targeting.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
continue.
No, I agree with you. There was a time when Nintendo of America, like, for win or lose, were far more active in trying to build customer brand awareness of
Yes.
Nintendo brands. Like, Nintendo of America in the past came out with cartoons that got kids involved and interested in,
Hmm.
Mario, Legend of
Really
Zelda,
good Kirby ads.
Kirby ads, Donkey Kong, Wario ads. Like, you practically don't see any fucking commercials for Nintendo shit anymore. Like the actual games, like the Switch, yeah, but the games on the Switch,
Right.
you really don't. where where are the Mario cartoons? Where are the Legend of Zelda cartoons? Where are the F-Zero cartoons? Where are the Kirby cartoons? Like, okay, fine. You don't want to do a cartoon for each of those. Why don't you do a fucking cartoon called Smash Town? Super Smash Brothers or some shit like
Right.
that. Welcome to Smash City. Now I know some people would take that and use that as a euphemism for fucking, but still, still,
We
No,
already use
they just
Smash Brothers as a euphemism, so whatever.
all I'm saying is this, okay? Nintendo of America, you are fucking useless. You're about as useful as tits on a bull.
no, it's true. Like one thing that because back then I thought when they did those treehouse events that was fantastic, but they haven't done one of those in so long now.
I mean, they did
and
one for Live Alive.
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake. I missed that one. But then I guess that's another thing. They do them so rarely then. Because now I think I should just call them Nintendo Logistics because they are just purely about moving product at this point.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think they really should, like, once a month. Like, maybe once or twice a month, they should have people kind of like Kit and Krista from who used to do Nintendo Minute. They should bring something like that back. Like
Mhm.
twice a month, just like talk about Nintendo shit to get it out. Maybe not on TV, but on Twitch or YouTube or something.
Mhm.
No, I mean they're just fucking sorry. When you see people who have been with a company for like years leaving, um, sometimes they found another place to go, and sometimes it's because there's something going on at that company that they don't like.
Wasn't one of the ex-employees like bitching about something Nintendo was doing? Like,
Yeah, well, Kit
There
and
was
Krista
a
said we're not fucking moving. Like they wanted us to leave our homes where we are and go up to Seattle. Fuck you, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Like, why the fuck should you move
Yeah.
away because you want to fucking close an office? Um, and I mean, it turns out they're mistreating their fucking temporary employees.
Contractors.
They're contractors, which I'm not surprised because all these fucking companies in America mistreat their contractors.
That's a problem throughout the gaming industry.
No, not the gaming industry. Industry in
entertainment.
general.
Yeah.
If you're a contractor, bend over and spread them cheeks. You're about to get fucked.
Yeah. But yeah, no, because I guess I'm glad to hear that's not as hot take as I thought it was because yeah, the most active I've seen them lately is for Splatoon, and granted, Splatoon's going to be easily a 10 million seller. It's proven in just a few short years just how valuable that series is to Nintendo. But goodness gracious, it's just God, it's Nintendo America, one of the biggest consumer bases for the entertainment world, if not the biggest.
And they're fucking useless. They don't do shit.
Yeah.
They don't stretch themselves. They don't do anything different. They don't try and push. Like they're basically like Nintendo right now. The Switch is at what 110, 120 million.
Just about.
They should,
Almost about to oversell the PS4, but yeah.
yeah, they should be releasing new IPs right now in order
Hmm.
to they should, because the install base is big enough that even if it only reaches 1%, it's going to sell 1.2 million.
Hmm.
So they should be releasing games that have a small budget, but like maybe a very small budget, but you guaranteed are going to do at least 1 to 5% of the install base. Nah, we're just going to dick around.
And at this point, I just have a lot more faith in Nintendo of Europe now. But yeah, that was, I guess that's sort of my hot take. Because as you said, there was a time when Nintendo America was very widely beloved, like during the fifth and sixth and some of the seventh, like just the
I
first
mean,
little bit of.
uh, I would say during the third, fourth, fifth gen, Nintendo of America actually did shit. The sixth gen is when they started to kind of die down. Because the sixth gen is when Reggie came in, and Reggie just basically was there to just kind of.
He was
Reggie's
the
an
hype man.
advertising guy.
He's a spokesman, yeah.
Yeah, he's the hype man, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, okay, yeah, you're hyping it up. You know, I'm a Nintendo fan, so I've always bought Nintendo stuff. So I'm
Mhm.
not like, oh my god, you don't have to sell the Kool-Aid to me because I already got a refrigerator full of shit. Okay. But for people who aren't into Nintendo, I mean, maybe
Yeah.
it's not for you. I don't know.
No, yeah, it doesn't help. But yeah, that's sort of my hot take right now. But I guess it wasn't that sizzling. Kenoshi, how about you?
Yeah, you can close us out with your hot take, Kenoshi.
Um,
No hot take? All right.
I guess my only hot take is the Switch Pro is never coming out. Quit looking for it. It's not
Yeah.
under a rock. It's not in a sock. It's not in a box. It's nowhere to be found. So quit looking for it.
No,
Actually,
I'm with you.
I will,
Um,
I will make this guarantee for you people who keep on pining for a Switch Pro. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take your hand, go to the bathroom, squat, stick your hand underneath your butthole, and then hold your other hand out. And I want you to wait for a switch to appear in the hand that you have out before shit appears in your other hand. See which comes first. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think the funniest thing was that people were getting super excited because when that first Switch refresh came out, that I think had the better battery life.
Yeah.
What they did is that they made the release videos for the Switch private, and then they noticed a pattern whenever a new Switch model came out, they would do that for the Switch Lite, that Switch OLED, that Switch with extended battery. And the thing is, it happened again recently, and people got excited, and it turned out just to be the collector's edition Splatoon 3 Switch.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
Yep.
Oh, I was like, these niggas, these guys be
They be illin'. They be illin'.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is this. Stop hoping that Nintendo's gonna make a more powerful piece of hardware. It ain't happening. Okay, they have no
Definitely.
incentive. They have, first of all, the way the supply chain issues are right now, they have no incentive to do that. Second of all, why? Like, if they were gonna spend billions of dollars to make new hardware, why the fuck would they do it to the Switch now that it's like in its sixth year? Fifth? Okay, the fifth. It's fifth year. Okay, why would they do that now when they could be working on the next piece of hardware that they could sell people?
Well, I think they actually went ahead and I don't want to say they built a new office or rented out a new office, but they've got a big new building for R&D now. I mean, they're definitely brainstorming something new. And in addition to that, I hate the name Switch Pro. Not everything has to take after Sony product.
Yeah,
Pro is short for professional. That's the idea of having a professional console is just kind of weird.
Yeah, it is. Because I mean, it's unless you stream games for a living, in which fine. But I mean, like, here's the thing. I don't see Nintendo doing that. Here's what I think. I think that the Switch is the successor to the 3DS.
I love the 3DS.
Which makes sense, but it's also disappointing because I wanted Nintendo to bring back the Game Boy. I love the Game Boy. I have fond memories of the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Color.
All right. Oh, okay. So, but okay. I guess if you conflate Game Boy Advance together, I could definitely see it. For one second, I thought you were saying you had fond memories of the Game Boy Advance, which I won't say I have bad memories of it, but the DS memories were just so much better.
I mean, here's my issue with the DS. Okay, I love the
Okay.
DS. It's a great handheld.
Hmm.
I think in some ways, in terms of JRPGs, the DS kicks the 3DS's ass.
Oh yeah.
Love the DS's JRPGs. My problem with the DS is actually I have no problem with DS. I love the DS. Almost all the games I have on my DS I fucking enjoy. My problem with the DS is that a lot of Nintendo first party games they shoehorned in fucking stylus controls. That's my problem
Yeah.
with the DS. If they gave you the option to not have shoehorned in stylus controls, I would say the DS is it's Nintendo's best handheld.
It's funny.
Unfortunately,
There's only one I think they developed that was kept pretty intact was that 64 port they made for it.
64 for what? Mario?
Oh, Super Mario 64
No,
DS.
that game
There
had
was.
stylus controls too.
You're kidding.
No,
Oh God.
no, no. Every Nintendo first party game on that fucking console, on that fucking handheld, had stylus controls, and I hated it.
Yeah, you could use the stylus to control Mario, which is very unintuitive.
Yeah,
I didn't
Very
like
just-
the. I guess I never tried it out because one thing I hated is because I do like that port a lot. I just hated having to control Mario with a D-pad. That just
yeah.
for a 3D platformer.
Because
Yeah.
Mario 64 was fucking made for an analog control stick. It's not meant to be played with a fucking stylus. You need an analog control stick to play that fucking game.
See now if they went ahead and just touched up those assets they use because I love the way the models look a lot more crisper. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it looked more like
Yeah.
contemporary Mario at the time. And those extra stars, those are fine too. I don't mind those at all.
Oh yeah,
It's playing.
to be honest with you, Mario 64 DS is the definitive Mario 64. The problem is that it's on the DS and it uses fucking stylus controls and a D-pad
Mhm.
and not an analog control stick. Really, what I wish Nintendo would have done, and why I don't know why the fuck they didn't do this when they did the 3D Mario All Stars.
Mhm.
They should have okay, you beat Mario 64. Okay, we're giving you Mario 64 DS, but you now can use an analog control stick to control it.
Same thing with the Legend of Zelda 64 ports too, because after playing, like, admittedly, there's some things Majora's Mask on 64 does better gameplay wise than the 3DS version,
Oh
but
yeah.
as for Ocarina of Time, man, I can't go back to the Nintendo 64 one. The 3DS
I
one
agree.
spoiled me.
I agree. Personally, I think they should. I always said this. Nintendo should have remade Ocarina of Time using the Majora's Mask engine because it would have made it play better. Because Link in Ocarina of Time, Kid Link sucks.
Mm.
It's like this is a punishment. I'm being punished for the first half of this game. And then you play Majora's Mask and you're like, oh man, Kid Link plays so much better in this game. Anyway, yeah. The DS is one of those consoles that, like, I love the third and second party games on the DS, but a lot of the first party games are just like,
I hear you.
why are you like okay, I used to get angry when people used to say this back in the day, but I'm gonna be one of those people. I'm tired of Nintendo letting gimmicks get in the way of good gameplay. Like, they'll have a really good game, but they have to use a fucking gimmick with it that ruins it. Or at least diminishes the game. You know?
Right.
Like, hey, this Star Fox game, it'd be fucking awesome, right? If it was on the DS, yeah, it would. Well, guess what? We're gonna make a Star Fox game, but you gotta use the stylus. Why the fuck would you do that? Like, that's how I feel with Nintendo. It's like, I like the company, but sometimes they make some decisions where I'm like, why?
You're right. For myself, I definitely agree that JRPG wise, the DS kicks the 3DS's ass because on 3DS, I think for every one JRPG I could name on it that I loved, I could name 5 more on the DS.
Oh yeah.
On 3DS, I had Shin Megami Tensei 5, Etrian Odyssey, the remake of the first one.
Yep.
There was that. Was Alliance? No. What was it? Alliance
Alliance
Alive?
Alive. Yep. Alliance Alive.
Yep. Crap,
And
let me think.
Legendary Legacy. Legendary,
Oh, I didn't play
which is
that one.
yeah, Legendary Legacy. But then you look at the DS and you've got shit like Sands of Time,
Mhm.
the Chrono Trigger sequel we deserved but never fucking got because Square Enix sucks.
Mm,
Dragon Quest Nine. Um,
mm.
Dragon Quest IV, the Final Fantasy remakes, done in 3D. Dragon Quest 3, no, Dragon Quest 4, Dragon Quest 5, Dragon Quest 6. Um,
Final Fantasy 3 and 4 remakes.
yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, whoops.
Final Fantasy 3 and 4 remakes. I mean, like, there's so many great JRPGs on the DS
Mhm.
and 2D platformers and like interesting game. Like, there's just a lot of really good games on the DS. And the same
Oh,
way I feel
absolutely.
about second and third party games on the DS. But I mean, like the Game Boy. Like, here's the thing. Okay, the Game Boy and the Game Boy Advance had everything. You had great first person shooters, racing games, platformers, RPGs, JRPGs, Western RPGs, licensed games. Like everything you could want, you had on that console. And some pretty goddamn good ports, too. And while I love the DS doesn't have that range.
Now,
It has great depth, but not the range.
if you were to isolate just the Advance and compare it to the DS, how would it stack up?
I would say that the Advance had better first-party Nintendo ports than
I'll concede to that.
than the DS, because like you had Link to the Past on the Advanced, and aside from them adding the fucking annoying Link voiceovers,
Hmm.
it's a pretty goddamn good port. Same thing with all four Super Mario Brothers games, like Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, 3, and 4, which
WarioWare, not WarioWare, Wario Land. My mistake.
Wario Land, like the first party games on. I know this is gonna sound really bad. The first party games on the Game Boy Advance are better than the first party Nintendo games on the DS. Um, I would say Golden Sun and Golden Sun 2 are way better than the first party Nintendo RPGs that came to the DS. Um,
There's also a really good F-Zero game on there. Like it was
Yep, F
amazing to
Zero
see it for the.
Advanced. Yep, F
Yep.
Zero Advanced was fucking amazing. And Mario Kart Super Circuit on the Game Boy Advance is pretty goddamn
Mm,
good too. And I'm not even a fan of Mario Kart, and I would say
mm.
that game is pretty good. Like I mean, just the Game Boy Advanced is just like a really, and it's sad they killed that system too early.
Yeah, what was it, like 3 years, I think?
No, it was 5, but
Okay.
like typically speaking, Nintendo with their handhelds go like 7, 8 years. Shit. Technically speaking, the Game Boy, if you include the Game Boy Advance, because it could also play Game Boy games, the Game Boy went from 1985 to like 1999.
Yeah, you
Like
had
almost
four
50, pushing
refreshes.
50 years.
Game Boy, Game Boy Color, the Game Boy Micro, if you're being generous, and Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. So I wish they'd bring back the Game Boy. That's what I wish. That's my little.
Okay.
I wish Nintendo would bring back the Game Boy. The Game Boy would be fucking awesome. But anyway, that's the end of the podcast. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up? Anything you want to be like, you know what? People should know about this or else.
Hmm. Mm. As usual, buy Xenoblade 3. That's it.
I already pre-ordered mine. I'm getting it later on. I got the
Hell
physical
yeah.
version though, because if I don't like it, I can get some of my money back. Anyway, Kenoshi, anything you want to pimp out?
Oh, Project Console, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, Tuesdays. See you there.
All right.
Enough.
Okay. This is Mr. Red Fox. We went a little bit over, but fuck it. Good conversation. Sometimes takes precedent. That's the end of the cast. My schedule is probably going to change again after August 7th. Probably won't be able to do a Wednesday cast, but I'll probably be able to do a Saturday cast. So look forward to that in the, let's see, August. yeah, you know, to that week after August. But that's the end of the cast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and live your life. Peace.